Hey, everyone. This is Dr. Crystal Richardson. Extremely happy to be with you today on Life Innovation Global TV. We are still doing our pre shows. We have a number of amazing guests and content that will be coming up here on The World Speaks. So, The World Speaks is a global platform. We have people that we know and have connection with all over the world. And we want to bring them to you to share some of what they've done to succeed, to have impact, to have cash flow, and more. And we will be back with today's show related to having impact and having cash flow from a global perspective. We'll be right back. Hey, everyone. This is Dr. Crystal Richardson. Extremely happy, as stated, to be with you today. We are talking about global and how to have more impact from a global perspective as well as cash flow. So, how do we go about doing that? I've been speaking and working and coaching and uh, doing a lot of things from an entrepreneurial perspective as well as in my profession. Doing that globally for, let's see now, my first global trip was when I was in high school. So I'm 60 now. And so that was when I was, let's say, 16. So you can do the math on how long it's been that I've been global. And even before that, we used to go to Canada. That should count, right? I'm here in the United States in Arizona. I grew up in Michigan. But we had that global flavor and going somewhere else type of effect in my mind and in our family. Since I was a little girl, we would go camping, and I would even start like some little businesses with my little campground friends, selling lemonade and things like that. So I was a global entrepreneur at age 10. And then we actually became really, really great friends with the people who own the campground, and they had children. And so I became really great friends with one of the daughters. They had two daughters and a son, and was even in her wedding when she got married. And so I've had that international, I guess I would say, feel. Yes, United States to Canada is still international feel since I was young. But in high school, I was a part of a band camp in Michigan, and I was really good. I was first chair in clarinet. We would go back and forth, first, second, third chair, because of all of the challenging that would happen. But all three of us at my particular school ended up going on this international trip to Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. And so that really opened me up my very, very first, passport and going abroad and collecting whatever money we could collect to be able to take that trip. I did not come from a family that had money necessarily, but there were different people in my church and community, as well as my family, that pooled their money together so that I would be able to go on this trip, and it was amazing. It was amazing. We stayed with host families and had where we toured, various locations, playing in the symphonic band and in the jazz band. We played big band music, and it was really amazing. It was just really amazing, and so that kind of opened me up to that international feel. And so since then, I have been, along with that trip, to almost 40 countries doing what I do, and a number of them I've been to, two, three, four times, across, I think it's 4 continents now that I've been. And what does that do? It really opens you up to see firsthand. You can read, you can watch movies, you can do all of these things, but once you go to one of these other countries and one of these other continents and see firsthand and experience it for yourself, then there's a whole new world, literally, that opens up for you. And so what I want to discuss today is how we can have more impact. And it starts locally. I know that in the title of this, I talked about the global mindset, cash and impact, the global mindset, but it starts locally and then it goes abroad. There's all different ways that you can start and do whatever it is that you want to do. But the way that we're going to talk about today is starting locally and then going abroad. And so I've been doing it so much that now I have a refocus to still go abroad, but to do more locally and to really connect with more women, and men, but more women locally, related to what I do, and even having, where we have people come here to the Uplift Center studios and have where they share some of their content and prepare as we prepare to go global. So for today's show, there's going to be a number of points that I bring up. And as usual, if you ever watch this show, I do have where I ask that you get a pen and paper or a tablet or, your computer, some way, your phone, some way of taking notes so that you have some of these points. And obviously you can always go back and listen to the show. But if you take some notes, that would really potentially be great for you to be able to get some of these points. All right. So the first thing, which should be obvious, but I don't want to leave anything for chance, and it is to have a UVP, and that is your unique value proposition. So what makes you unique, and why should someone listen to you if you're going to be an international speaker or a local speaker, or why should they buy your particular product or service? Like, what is it that is unique, your specific take on what it is that you have? Now, it may be that it's something that's just brand new, like, out in the universe that has never, ever, ever come up before. But chances are it's something that's close to maybe a Me Too type of product or service. And you have your specific spin, because there's no one who's been through what you've been through. There's no one who's been to the exact places that you've been. And there's no one, even if they have been to those exact places, they have not had the exact experiences that you have. And they don't have the exact thought processes and the exact action processes as well. So part of what we're going to talk about today is how you can make money. I am a wealth innovation strategist, and so I talk to people all the time about how they can have various streams of income, as well as how it is that they can have greater impact in the world. So as we go into today's show, hopefully you have your pen and paper or have a way of taking some notes. I want you to think about your unique value proposition. Now, with that being said, what does that even mean? It is, what is it that you can offer that is unique to you? Now, as we look at that, part of it has to do with what our expertise is. so that we can say that we're an expert in this or in that. And then part of it also has to do with the main point I want you to think about is, what is the problem that you're attempting to solve? And is this problem big enough, or in a niche that you can have really great impact, even if it's not a huge problem? You've narrowed it down to something that you really can focus on, that people really need, that people will pay you for. Okay. So otherwise it's a glorified hobby, or it's something that you're doing, as just a gift to people, as a philanthropist of some type, or, just a good person, and you're not getting paid, which is fine too. And I do a lot of that. But what is the problem? So I want you to write down, what is your expertise related to your unique value proposition? And then what is the problem that you have a solution to? Now, when we say solution, it's very important for us to understand that that doesn't mean that you can solve like every single portion of what that problem is, but it may be that you have a portion of the solution that will make everyone else's life easier, better, save them time, save them money, even related to a partial solution. So I want you to think in your mind of ways of doing that, so that it's not where you're thinking that you have to solve, the whole problem. So let's take something like, something huge like world hunger, okay? World hunger. So there are a lot of communities, there are statistics related to each continent where there's, a percentage of the population that potentially does not have, enough food or resources to buy food, or even to grow their own food and all of that. So a solution for that is not for all of world hunger for the whole world, but it could be for a specific population on a specific continent, that you can have a solution based on the climate there, where it solves a portion of the problem. Make sense? So this is something that a lot of time entrepreneurs get bogged down in, is doing whatever they think that they can do, but it's important for us to think big. But if you think too big, then you're bogged down, and then you become stagnant in taking action, because it's just too much. So what I want to talk about here is having where you understand what your expertise is. There's some more to it too. Understand what your expertise is related to your unique value proposition, and then understanding, based on your expertise, what is a problem or two or three or four that you can solve, that you think that you'll be able to solve related to that. Not necessarily the whole big problem, but it could be that you're able to help solve a portion of the problem. Just like I mentioned in the example with world hunger, it would be where you're able to help, maybe on a specific continent, that has a specific climate and type of person that lives there, that that they have some resources at their disposal, that you would be able to take their unique situation and come up with a solution for how you can help solve hunger in their area. Okay? So, unique value proposition, what's your expertise, and then what is the problem that you're solving, and then based on that, you put together a strategy on how you are going to help to solve that. So when we talk about the global mindset and cash and impact, part of it is understanding, based on your expertise and doing research, which is another point I want you to write down, is researching these various continents, the various cultures. Based on your expertise, is there a way that you would be able to be of benefit to people here locally as well as globally? Now, depending on what it is, it could be that you do, and this is another point, is to do a focus group here in the United States, or wherever you are. Do a focus group, do a beta test, okay, of your solution. Depending on what the solution is, I always talk about contracts. So having where you have a non-disclosure agreement in place with the people that you are having in your focus group. So that's another point to write down. I think I talk about contracts at every show almost, or every talk that I have related to business, is having those agreements in place so that they don't necessarily take that information or talk to someone else about what you're doing, and then that other person takes the information and runs with it. So you only want to do it in bite-sized chunks, where even if you do a group, they don't have all of the information about what it is that you're doing, so that cannot be taken and used by someone else to run with it. And then next thing you know, you're seeing on the news that someone has launched what it is that you were planning on launching or doing. So make sure that you have some protections in place related to that. So that particular point is in relation to having where you try whatever it is out locally. So that's a beta test, a focus group. Okay. So there's a lot to do before you get to that point, related to some of the plans and strategies that you have to document it and put in place. But I'm just skipping to that just to say, based on your unique value proposition, based on your expertise, based on the problem that you plan to solve, you're going to put a plan together. There's a lot related to the plan. And you're going to put a contract in place. You're going to get a focus group. You're going to have where you try it locally. And then you're going to leverage people that have international connections, potentially in some of the areas that you want to go to. And then you leverage them and have where you have an international focus group with a smaller group of people, so that you then can see about, is this something that would be good for that community long term and on a larger scale. Okay. Now, there was a whole lot that was just stated in that area. But again, this is cash and impact. The global mindset is looking to see who it is that that it has been various places, or been various on various continents, and has various contacts. And so that would be me. And there's a number of other people that you may know as well, that have done the same thing or similar types of things. So think about who that would be and who might be able to help you in that manner. Now, everybody doesn't want to necessarily go global, but I'm just letting you know that there's so many opportunities out there. And a lot of times it's where you can pilot, write that word down. You can pilot something to see how it's working somewhere else, and then bring it to the United States. That is something that also works well, to have where you're able to do pilots. And then you can also have where, when you do your advertisements, it shows that it's global and all of that. So in your press releases, you can say that, you've worked with this country, that country, and so on, as you are now bringing it back to the United States to have where you do a larger launch. So there's lots of ways to do that. And you can do the focus group here, a focus group international, and then bring it back here to have where it's a larger launch. So again, depending on what it is that you're doing, having where you also look at leveraging people, depending on what the problem is that you're solving. Is it something that's more related to men? Is it more related to women? Is it all people? Is it related to children, pets? Is it something that's cross-functional? There's a lot of things to take into account. So you may have to listen to this show again to look at, all the different kind of angles that you might take. And is it something that takes a lot of capital to start? Do you have to have where you have certain assets already in place and people in place? Or is it something that you can put in place yourself and have it automated, where it really doesn't take a lot of capital? It doesn't take a lot of people to manage. And it is something that maybe you don't start out having it automated, but as you move along, you work with a group to see how you can automate it, or have a software app or something like that to utilize for this. So there's a lot that goes into this, and that's what I work with people on, depending on what it is that they have as their idea. And we put those contracts in place. And then we move forward with various discussions. So another thing is, is it something that would be great for an online application, an online solution? And if so, then there you have it. Like, that's something that can automatically have where you go global, because then there's people from all over the world that are ready to purchase your item, and they can do so online. So another thing to think about related to how you set up your business. And so with that, just making sure that you're clear of how that works, and what kind of agreements need to be in place, and then still, like how you would do your taxes and everything related to that. So those are just some other discussions that you would have with your tax advisor, your accountant, and people that are versed in international business. But it's something to think about if you want to go global. All right. And some of it is doing partly what I do, which is, I have where there's different people I partner with here in the United States, and I take them global on global mission trips, global business trips, speaking and things of that nature. So the money transfer happens here in the United States, but then, we go abroad to do whatever it is that we do. And there's some commercials that you have just seen related to that. And I'll play that again since I'm just talking about going global. And you can reach me if you're interested in doing something like that and going on an international missions trip or business trip or speaking trip with us. And I think I do have that email address on here. Let's see. Yeah, so I'll just put this on here. And this is related to speaking. It's even related to being here on this show. But the ticker is at the bottom and the email address is at the bottom, which is legacy@lifeinnovationglobal.com. Legacy, there it is right there, at lifeinnovationglobal.com. And so you can contact me if you are interested in having a show here on this network, as well as if you are interested in going on some type of international trip with us. We would love to have you come and be a speaker or do international missions. We do Christian missions in various countries as well. And sometimes we group those trips. There's a business portion and then there's a ministry portion. And you can be a part of either one or the other or both. And so that's something for you to consider. So I'm just going to go ahead and play that commercial again so you can see some of the places I've been and then some of what we've done. And we would love to have you potentially join us. Hey, everyone. This is Dr. Crystal Richardson. Extremely happy to be with you today. And we're talking about cash and impact, the global mindset. I just kind of like mixed words there. And part of what we're talking about is what would be your strategy and what are some things that you can do to grow your global brand and your global mindset. So global thinking is something that I've talked about a lot, and we do have a book that's coming out related to global thinking that also has to do with. There's a part of that. Let's see if I point the right way. I did right here. The 51 powerful P's of public speaking. So that talks about international speaking as well. There's a little table in there about some things that are considered okay and not okay in other countries, and how people go about creating enthusiasm and the rah rah effect, or if you need to be more calm, or just honoring some of the traditions and how you greet people uh, in the various countries is very key. So when you go to these different places, and that was one of the things I wanted to mention related to the commercial that you just saw, is that it's important to know some of the cultural do's and don'ts. And so that's some of what we go over. Let's see if I point the right way again in this book. But it's also what I go over in the book called Global Thinking, that is a book that will also be coming out soon. So I really want to encourage you to think about the fact that what you do and what you have is something that might only be needed in the local market, but it could be something that's needed in the global market as well. And that's more exposure for you, that is more monetization for you, and more impact. Everything that I do, I wrap it around the thought of innovation and also around the thought of impact. Because if all we think about is money, then are we really doing what we were placed here on this earth by God to do, which is to love one another, have kindness, and to make everyone's life as easy, I guess, as we could, and to shine our light so that they see His light. And part of the way that we do that is having where we magnify our impact. And how can we magnify our impact? It's by doing some of the things that I'm talking about right now. And yes, there are people that may not be able to afford whatever it is that is our product or service. And so you can have a philanthropy portion, a give back portion for what you do. And I always see that as something that's very important to have. And I encourage everyone I work with to have some kind of give back model, but also having where, based on what your price structure is, then you then have money to utilize to put back into your business, to reinvest, and to rebuild, and to continue to build your business, and have money also for vacation and other things that you would like to have. And that's called thriving. Okay. So, there's all these different things that we're talking about, but just think about the fact that whatever it is that you have, is it something that could benefit other cultures? And so a lot of times we think small, and we think about our community, we think about our friends and family, and we bug our friends and family all the time, as opposed to if we have something new that comes out, as opposed to seeing if there's a way for us to expand our reach and to go global. And so there's various ways to do that, and I really would love to have where we can talk to you about how to do that, if that's something that you're interested in, which is the reason for the show, The World Speaks. And so we'll be having some other guests on here talking about things that they've done from a global perspective. All right. So let's now talk about some of what we just discussed. So we talked about our unique value proposition, which is our UVP. We've talked about our expertise. We talked about, understanding what problems there are, doing research, and are we able to solve the whole problem or a portion of the problem? We talked about putting together that strategic plan, and then also having where we have a non-disclosure agreement in place, having where we have a focus group, potentially locally, or an international focus group in a specific continent, where we've leveraged some of the people that we know that know people globally that could help us to do that. And then we also talked about uh, the fact that going online, okay, if there's a way for you to go online with whatever it is that you have, then that is a way to reach people globally as well, because then they'll be able to purchase or sign up for whatever it is that you have uh, online, and that makes it great as well. So having where you do that, and if you have a podcast, of which, like I had the Voice America show, and looking at those analytics, where there's people from various continents that in various countries that have listened in to my shows from time to time, and so having those stats is great, because it lets you know your reach in those other areas. Okay, so let's talk about what it is that you're going to offer. So part of this is looking at, what is your expertise? And based on that, what problem are you going to solve? And are you going to solve that with a product? Are you going to solve that with information, which might be in a book or a course? And then how you get that out, making sure that you get that properly registered, with the trademark office here in the United States, or um, depending on what it is, if you need to start a business for that, it could be your state corporate commission or secretary of state office. But having copyrights, trademarks is very important. Okay. And having where, whatever it is that you've done and you've set up, that you have it protected properly. So it could be that you need to even have a patent related to whatever it is that you have. And having a US patent is not an international patent. So depending on other places that you want to have where you're setting up business, then you would need to have where you also register for patents in those other countries. And so yes, this can get very expensive from a protection perspective, but you just have to do the best that you can. Excuse me. Having where you have non-disclosure agreements in place, and seeing if someone wants to partner with you from a business perspective, or if you can have various grants or scholarships, win certain contests related to what it is that you're doing. And again, making sure that you have it protected. And then that's where you can have money coming in. And if someone wants to back you, then you have that financial backing with an investor as well. So there's various things that I talk about related to risk. And so if you are going to have an investor, please contact me or contact someone to understand how you can set yourself up to be protected, one, and then to put your best foot forward with that investor by understanding the risk, understanding your business plan, how to verbalize that business plan and rehearse that. And then also having where, you have various types of pro forma set up so that someone is like, wow, she or he really understands their business. They understand their numbers, their finances, and they understand risk to me as an investor and risk to the business. And I think I really want to do business with them. So with that being said, just make sure when you have a global mindset that you understand the governmental makeup, how they look at having people from other countries coming in and potentially doing business. Are you able to set up business there? Are you able to have where you partner with someone who already has some of the permits and different things that might be needed in order for you to do that there? Okay, so there's a lot of different things that go into that. So just make sure that you've done your due diligence in that manner. And that's something that, like I said, that I help with and can help with. So that's another part of this show related to cash and impact, the global mindset, here on our pre-shows on The World Speaks on LIG TV. All right. So the next thing, when I talk about leverage, part of that has to do with networking. So increase your network, get into some global groups. There's a lot of different Facebook groups, there's a lot of technical organizations, trade organizations, um, lots of different things now that you can find on the internet that you can get access to and become a part of, so that you can grow your global reach. Okay, so as we get into our last 20 minutes of the show here, we're talking about global reach, we're talking about networking. And so, as I mentioned earlier, if it's something that mainly will benefit women, then look to see what kind of international women's groups you can be a part of. If it's something that benefits men or children, or if it's related to pets, look those up and just put in some keywords, do some keyword searches so that you can have the information that you need to see if you would benefit by being a part of these groups. And just cast a wide net to be a part of these organizations, and then one by one go into them, have conversations with people, see what you can give. It's not always about getting. See what you can give to those particular groups, and then what you can get out. See what kind of talks that they have set up, and ones that you can be engaged in or maybe even be a part of. But if you want to sit back and listen and just kind of follow and survey, do that. And then little by little you can back out and remove yourself from some of the groups if they don't serve you. But the first thing is just to see what is out there. And you can even take the strategy of joining 2 or 3 at a time, or 5 or 10 at a time, and then just have you just every day or every week scroll through the information and see, is this group something that would be good for you? And I've done that, and I've gone into the group and started scrolling, because some of them you have to answer questions and you have to be admitted, right? And so you can't see before you join. So you join, and then you go into the group and you're scrolling, and then what they're talking about is like, okay, this isn't what I thought it was going to be. And just unfollow or remove yourself or unjoin. Okay, simple. So there's lots of ways that you can do that. Now, the positive part of that is that you're going to meet people potentially that are ones that you would like to connect with, you would like to network with, you would like to have some more information from them, or let them know that you want to be a part of their talk, or you want to attend their event, or you really like their product and service, which is something that you don't offer, and potentially you can add that to a part of what your offering is. There's lots of different ways that this goes or can go. So just think about it and have where you think about upping your networking game from this regard. Okay? So that is another way for you to have a bigger impact, and cash flow, will come after that. So, as you network with these people, and then you have a good pitch. So that's another thing to write down, is a good pitch related to what your product or service or your expertise is. And then they're like, tell me more. So you want to have where you have the tell me more effect. And part of that is what happens when you start speaking, and you start having where you speak on stage, or you speak just one-on-one or in small groups. This is something that can really, really help you to elevate your offering, to elevate your impact, and to elevate your cash flow, is speaking. Because then people can hear where you're coming from, and they have where they begin to see that they really like what you have to say. And it's the know, like, and trust factor. And based on that, then they tell other people, and then those people tell other people. And before you know it, then you have like a bigger network of people. And this is something that can catapult you into even the global arena, because everyone, I think, I won't say everyone, but a lot of people know people in other countries. And so once you say that you're really ready to take that step to go global, then you can have, or you already have, that global footprint, that global plan written out, so that you then can do just that, go global. So these are just all things for you to think about as you look at having a global mindset. Always reading the news, looking at economic reports, looking at what's going on with the weather, what's going on with elections in other countries, what's going on with devastation, even things that are happening in those countries where there's now a problem, or the problem was already there and now the problem is exacerbated. It's a bigger problem because of the economy, because of the elections, because of some kind of devastation, because of something that's going on there. That what you have is something that would be great to help and solve either the whole problem or a portion of the problem. Remember at the beginning of the show, I talked about not going too big at first, like, oh my gosh, do I have to solve this whole problem? Don't overwhelm your mind from that regard, okay? Have where you bite size it, and that's very extremely important, so that you don't get overwhelmed. So I'm hoping you're getting something out of this related to global thinking and the global mindset. And the next thing is, once you are in one country and you've leveraged a relationship and you've gotten into a country doing something, now how do you scale? How do you scale? There's a lot that can be said related to that. So what I'm going to show right now is just a commercial on some of what we're doing this year related to global awards. I would love for you to have where you nominate someone, or you can even nominate yourself related to global awards. And this is something that we have that has a lot of different areas that you could potentially look at and pursue yourself, or if you know someone in these areas. And what we'll do is show this commercial and then talk about scaling globally. Hey, everyone. This is Dr. Crystal Richardson. Hey, on The World Speaks. And today we're talking about cash and impact of the global mindset. And so how do we go about that? Well, I've been traveling since elementary school, I guess, from the United States to Canada is part of what I mentioned. We used to go all the time in the summer months, and spring and fall too. We'd go camping, and it's a different place, right? It's not the United States. So I consider that going global. But in high school, I went to Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. I was in an international band, and we stayed with host families. And that was a wonderful, wonderful time to be able to travel to all these different places, playing the clarinet in the symphonic band and in the jazz band. We played big band music, and just experiencing the culture, the food, the traffic, the buildings, the architecture, the products, the services, like different things, like in each of the different countries, how things were different. And those are considered Scandinavian countries. And so they all have like the same kind of feel and flavor a little bit, but they all have their differences. And so that was great. And then after that, before I got married, I went to I went to um, Nigeria, Ghana, and Senegal on an international missions trip. And then from there, I've been like a whole bunch of other places, but almost 40 countries doing what I do. But that trip right there, again, 3 places across Africa, that it's Africa, right? But they're different. And so having where I experienced, the things that were maybe similar, the things that were different, the products, the services, the people, the medical conditions, the medical community, meaning various clinics and hospitals that we went to, what they had and didn't have, if it was a small village, if it was a bigger city, um, and bigger city over there, or a village or a clinic in those places versus over here in the United States. Vast difference, vast difference. So yes, was my mind flowing with ideas way back then, like over 33 years ago when I went, before I got married, so maybe 34 years ago now. Um, my mind was swimming with ideas back then, and still is, because there's still a lot of things that are the same in some of those smaller villages, but and even in some of the bigger cities, some of the things are still the same. But ways that we can have where we take our product or service and have a global impact. The possibilities are endless. So what I want to encourage you in these last 5 minutes is how you can go about doing this. And so part of what I meant was part of what I've said earlier is related to leverage. And what I mean by that is partner with someone. Have where, if you know someone, like including myself, but if you know someone that is global and has some things that they're doing globally, just talk to them, see about being an understudy, and or having them as a mentor or a coach. And whether that's a paid engagement with them, or if it's something free that they do out of the kindness of their heart, so be it, either way. But have where you ask the question, like, is this something where I can just, pick your brain, or I want to pay you for this session. A lot of times we say that, and then if the person doesn't have boundaries, then we're utilizing their time, and then we go and do something great and never give them any recognition or money related to what it is that you've done with their information, with what they gave you as that foundation. If that happens, it happens. But the thing is I'm just saying, be honorable. And if you do have the means of paying someone, if you want to have a global consult, or any kind of consult, it's good to either have where you trade, you barter, do something for them with them, or you have where you support what they're doing and send people their way, related to something, even if you're not paying them. So what I'm saying here is partner with someone. And then maybe even from an affiliate perspective, because there's a lot that goes on globally where you may know other people, and they have a bigger reach, and you can have where you have an affiliate program that if you do these things globally, and the people come from their community, that you would give them a percentage, whether it's 10, 15, 20, 25, 30%, whatever percent you want to give them, 50%, like whatever it is that you want to give them, based on you're now doing things global and it's with people in their community, then you can have where you set up some kind of affiliate program. Now, the thing with this is too, your product or service, you have to do the due diligence related to that, where you ensure what you're doing and what you're giving and what you're promoting is quality. So you and I always need to have where we're going forward the best that we can in excellence, based on what we have decided we want to put out in the world. So your definition of excellence and my definition may be different. Your definition of quality, my definition of quality may be different. But the thing is to do your best and to have where you do these focus groups that we mentioned at the beginning, local focus groups. It could be friends and family initially. Then you have a small beta test group, focus group. You have non-disclosure agreements in place, and you try whatever it is out on them, only a portion of it, so that they don't have all of your information and all of it, and they can either themselves or tell someone else, and they take that and run with it. So have where you do your research, do your benchmarking, do your beta testing, and have where you just follow some of these ideas, and I think you'll do fine. Now, if you do want to have more information on how to do this, you can contact me. There was a portion that I mentioned related to risk, and there is a site related to that. I can bring up that banner. The reduceinvestmentrisk.com is a way that you can have where if you want someone to invest in you or partner with you, don't do that alone. Contact me or contact someone you know that can help do that due diligence for you and with you, and build up a number of key questions that would be great for you to ask someone, and then you can bounce the answers that they give off of me, or off of whoever it is that you have set up this conversation with. And then sometimes I actually go in with the person and have where I'm in the meeting to help do the due diligence with them, so that if there's some real-time questions, then they have me there as a support. So there's various ways that you can do that. And the website that you can look at to get information on that is the reduceinvestmentrisk.com. So we'd just like to thank you for being with us on this show today related to cash and impact, the global mindset. And hopefully you have some things that you can think about on how to really go for it. Part of the global mindset is having where you think bigger related to what it is that you have as your expertise, what it is that you have as a solution. And not think so big that you get overwhelmed, but think about the fact that there may be a small community on this continent and that continent that could benefit from what it is that you have as far as a solution. So you think about the problems, do some research, Google, ChatGPT, figure out what are some problems that are going on in the world right now in your particular area of expertise, and then dig down the next level, the next level, the next level. And then based on that, you can have where you can come up with a unique solution that's only unique to you, because everyone in this world, they may have been to some of the same places, some of the same schools and all that, but they have not had exactly what's in your mind related to your exact approach and your exact problem-solving techniques, your exact troubleshooting techniques. They do not have that. They do not have what's in your heart on what it is that you can do to have a greater impact in the world. So even though some things are considered a Me Too type product or service, it's not going to be the same as what you offer. So go out there, do your best, and we will see you on one of the next episodes of The World Speaks. Thank you for being with us today. Keep rising.